Today on Veteran Stand Up, I'm talking about entrepreneurship with Tim Shaw, Army combat veteran and managing partner of Context Ventures, invests in startup and often veteran founders. Well, Tim, I know that as service members leave the military, they're prone to getting a job at a big company. But what about entrepreneurship? What about that path?
Entrepreneurship, first and foremost, is very hard. But as veterans, we're used to very hard things. So boot camp, specialized schools, early morning PT, weekend work, deployments, etc. It's a um, great pursuit if you really want to learn and if you really, hopefully, really want to earn. But the tricky thing with entrepreneurship is it's very hard. But the great thing is you get to pursue an endeavor which you really care about. You get to start something from the ground up. You get to build a business that's new. You get to pursue your dreams, pursue your goals. Starting from scratch is always exciting. And entrepreneurship, I try to tell new or veterans looking at entrepreneurship that you have to create value and then you have to capture some of that value. So it's very exciting, innovating, constant problem solving, and you feel energized every day by your work, but it's also extremely hard. And sometimes I tell veterans that if you want to pursue entrepreneurship, you should think of it as a phase process, just like you don't go from being a civilian to being deployed. You go through multiple trainings. Oftentimes, I tell veterans you might want to first go work at a startup and be an operator before you start your own company, or you might want to go to get some schooling, then work at a startup, and then work at several startups before you for sure want to do your startup because you want to de-risk as much as possible. Startups are inherently risky. And so as much as you can do to de-risk it, that would make your startup more successful.
You deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. What are their characteristics? I'm thinking about, a veteran say, I didn't go to the top schools, I haven't been in business, but I have a dream and a passion. What are the characteristics you observe?
First is grit. Um, for entrepreneurship, it's very much a long play. You have to be able to spend at least 2 years fleshing out the project. Oftentimes, like the first few months, you don't get enough signals from the market, whether you get overly strong ones or overly weak ones. So you have to have tenacity and the willingness to stay at it. That's number one. Number two is then you have to have some type of extroversion. And I consider myself a calculated introvert. Like I am by nature not someone who's a social butterfly. But by virtue of being an entrepreneur, having started a company, having started a fund, I realized that you have to go network, whether that's one to many, which is marketing, or one to one, which is sales. But you have to be able to sell. The reason you have to be able to sell is in order to build, you usually need some type of capital in order to build. And so you have to be able to sell the vision. And then, of course, you have to go build it.
Great. Well, you're on social media talking about this all the time. I know you're on panels, you have podcasts. How can folks find out more by following you and learning what you're doing?
So there's a number of resources for veteran entrepreneurs. And the first one I'd actually point to is Bunker Labs. Bunker Labs is a nonprofit for veterans, and it helps veterans whether you're starting a company and you're brand new to this, or whether you're pretty far along and they have a CEO circle. And some other resources on the Context Ventures website. We have a white paper on veteran military entrepreneurs. And we talk about veteran entrepreneurs through the decades. So Fred Smith, a Marine, he started FedEx. Phil Knight, Army, he started Nike. Ross Perot, Navy, he started EMS. So there's a number of successful veteran entrepreneurs that come decades, if not centuries before us. And so we follow in their footsteps. And there's also in that paper a number of other resources, pitch competitions, venture funds started by veterans that want to support veteran entrepreneurs. There's also a conference that we hold in February every year that hundreds of veteran entrepreneurs attend. It's called millvetstartups.com. And then lastly, a bunch of veteran VCs and myself, we hold a monthly office hour for any entrepreneur who wants to come talk to several veteran VCs at once. And that's veteranvcs.org. It's the Veteran VC Coalition.
Thank you.